My husband's family booked a surprise vacation for me. When we arrived, they took my passport and said, "You're staying here. The house and kids are ours now." I laughed and pulled out my phone. Guess what? So is your bank account. When they checked their balances, they screamed. You ever deal with in-laws who treat you like an outsider, no matter how much you try? The kind of people who make you feel like you're just a guest in your own marriage? That was my husband's family. His mom, Margaret, his dad, Robert, and his sister, Jessica. They always made sure I knew I wasn't one of them. It wasn't direct at first, little jabs here and there. Comments about how I should dress more like a wife, or how I was lucky Alex married me. Over time, the insults became less subtle. Margaret would criticize how I cooked, how I raised my kids, how I wasn't grateful enough for everything Alex's family had given me. Except they hadn't given me anything. Alex and I lived in a house I helped buy. I worked a good job before I became a stay-at-home mom. I handled our finances. I took care of our kids. I managed everything. But in their eyes, I was just some gold digger they had to tolerate. Alex always defended them. They don't mean it that way, he'd say. They just want what's best for me. Then, one day, they suggested a family vacation. Margaret and Jessica came over one day, all smiles, saying they had something amazing planned for us. A 2-week vacation to Italy. A family trip. Everything was booked. Flights. Hotels. A private villa. They made it sound like a dream. I was suspicious. For years, I had been the one to plan our trips. And suddenly, they were surprising us with this? It didn't feel right. But Alex? He told me I was overthinking it. It'll be fun, he said. The kids will love it. So, like an idiot, I agreed. I packed up, got everything ready, double-checked our passports, triple-checked our travel insurance. Then, we got on a plane and flew across the world. For the first few days, things seemed okay. The villa was beautiful. The weather was perfect. We ate amazing food, saw the sights, took the kids to all these little places I had always wanted to visit. But then, one night, everything changed. It was our 4th night there. We had just finished dinner. The kids were tired, so I put them to bed while everyone else stayed up drinking wine. When I came back downstairs, Margaret was waiting. Jessica was beside her, sitting back with a smug look on her face. Robert was standing off to the side, arms crossed. And Alex? He wouldn't meet my eyes. Something was wrong. Margaret took a slow sip of wine, then looked at me like I was a child who needed to be taught something important. We've talked about it, she said, and we all agree this is for the best. I frowned. What is? You're staying here. I actually laughed. What? Jessica smirked. You're not coming back with us. My stomach dropped. What are you talking about? Then she pulled something out from behind her. My passport. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Jessica waved it in front of me, like it was some kind of prize. You don't need this anymore. I turned to Alex, waiting for him to do something. He just looked away. Margaret smiled. The kids are coming home with us. Alex is coming home with us. You? You'll be much happier here. They were serious. This wasn't some twisted joke. They had planned this. They were trying to steal my children and abandon me in a foreign country. I couldn't breathe. They had spent years treating me like I was nothing. Like I was just Alex's wife, an outsider. They thought I'd just cry. That I'd beg. That I'd accept it. But they didn't know who they were dealing with. Before I met Alex, I worked in cybersecurity. Specifically, fraud prevention and financial security. And about a month before this trip, I had a bad feeling. Alex had been acting strange. He was secretive with his phone. There were weird charges on our bank statements. Every time I asked him about money, he brushed it off. So, just in case? I prepared. I set up alerts on all our bank accounts. I moved money into a new, private account only under my name. I even had a backup emergency fund in cash. And their biggest mistake? They thought I was dumb enough to let them handle all the bookings. What they didn't know was that I had rechecked everything before we left. The villa reservation? It was in my name. The flights? I had access to the tickets. Their money? I had been watching it the whole time. And the best part? Their credit cards were all tied to accounts I had access to. Jessica was still waving my passport, waiting for me to break down. Margaret had the soft, fake smile on her face. It's better this way, she said. You were never really a good fit for our family. The boys need stability. Boys. She meant my kids. She meant my babies. That was the moment something inside me snapped. I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen a few times, and smiled. Guess what? I said. So is your bank account. Jessica blinked. What? Margaret rolled her eyes. Don't be ridiculous. Robert checked his phone. Then his face went pale. Jessica grabbed her own phone, her smirk fading fast. Then she screamed. What the hell? Margaret yanked the phone out of her hands. No. No, this isn't possible. Alex fumbled with his own phone. His hands were shaking. What did you do? I leaned back. I had drained them. Not in an illegal way. I didn't steal anything. I just moved things around. The joint account? Not joint anymore. The emergency fund Margaret thought she controlled? Mine now. Their credit cards? Frozen. The villa reservation? Cancelled. They had nothing. And they were stuck in Italy. With no money. And no way home. I turned to Alex. Give me my passport. He looked like he was going to cry. Babe, please, let's just now. He handed it over. I took it. Then I stood up, walked upstairs, and started packing my bags. I could hear them downstairs, whispering, panicking. Margaret was already trying to call the bank. Jessica was pacing. Alex was just sitting there, head in his hands. But I wasn't done yet. Because before I left, I had one more thing to do. I could hear them downstairs, panicking. Margaret was on the phone with the bank, screeching at some poor customer service rep. Jessica was pacing, frantically refreshing her banking app like that would magically bring her money back. Robert sat silently, his jaw clenched so tight I thought his teeth might break. And Alex? He was just sitting there, frozen, hands gripping his hair, staring at his phone like if he stared hard enough, the numbers would change. Good. I grabbed my suitcase and quietly went to check on my kids. They were still asleep, their soft little breaths the only sound in the room. I felt a tightness in my chest. They almost took them from me. Almost. I pressed a kiss to their foreheads and took a deep breath. I had to keep moving. I grabbed my phone and started making calls. First, I rebooked my flight, one-way ticket, first flight out. Then I made another call. I had a backup plan. Here's what my dear husband and his evil family never knew. I had friends. Not just the let's grab coffee kind of friends. The real kind. The kind you make when you spend years working in fraud detection and security. And one of them happened to work at a major international bank. So while Margaret was screaming at customer service and while Jessica was having a meltdown, I sent a quick message. Me, hey, remember that thing we talked about? It's happening. Friend, got it. Need a go-ahead to proceed? Me, now. Less than 5 minutes later, Margaret's bank accounts were flagged for suspicious activity. Her cards? Frozen. Her savings? Under review. And because she had been screaming at customer service just minutes before, she had made herself look even more suspicious. Jessica's accounts were next. Then Robert's. Within 15 minutes, they were locked out of everything. I could hear the moment Margaret realized it. She shrieked. This is a mistake. Jessica started sobbing. Robert finally spoke. This is bad. Alex looked up, panicked. What's happening? I zipped up my suitcase and smiled. They wanted to trap me here? Well, now they were the ones who couldn't leave. I took one last look around the villa and checked my watch. My cab would be here soon. I scooped up my sleeping kids, careful not to wake them, and carried them downstairs. Margaret saw me first. Where do you think you're going? I didn't answer. I just kept walking. Jessica actually ran in front of me, blocking the door. You can't just leave. I stared at her. Then I laughed. Leave? I said. Oh no, you don't get to tell me what I can and can't do. Not anymore. Alex finally got up, his voice desperate. Just talk to me. We can fix this. I turned to him, eyes cold. Fix what, Alex? His mouth opened. Closed. He had nothing to say. I pushed past Jessica. Opened the door. The night air hit my face, cool and sharp. And then, Margaret grabbed my arm. The moment her fingers dug into my skin, something inside me snapped. I turned, shoving her off me so hard she stumbled back. She gasped. You ungrateful little. I stepped forward. And for the first time in her life, Margaret backed away. You were going to take my kids from me, I said, voice shaking. You were going to leave me here to rot. She pressed her lips together, but said nothing. No, I said, smiling. You're stuck. And I'm leaving. Her face turned red. She lunged at me again. And that's when Jessica screamed, Mom, stop. Silence. I turned, and for the first time I saw fear on Jessica's face. Not fear of me. Fear of something else. I frowned. What? She swallowed hard. Her phone was still in her hand, the screen glowing. Her fingers trembled as she held it up. And when I saw what was on the screen, my blood ran cold. There was a message on Jessica's phone. A single notification. From my bank. A transfer request. From MY emergency account. To Alex's. For every single cent. My heart stopped. I turned slowly to my husband. He was already backing away. Babe, he started. I thought. I stepped toward him. You tried to steal from me? Margaret perked up. Oh, Thank God, she breathed. Alex, you can fix this. Just move the money back and I didn't get it, he yelled. Everyone froze. What? Margaret snapped. Alex frantically refreshed his phone. It got blocked. I don't know how, but I smiled. That was my final security measure. I had set up an auto freeze for any unexpected transfers. Alex had tried to drain me dry, but he got nothing. He realized it at the same time I did. His face twisted. You knew. I laughed. Of course I knew. Margaret clutched her chest like she was about to faint. Jessica was shaking her head, whispering something under her breath. Robert? Robert had gone completely silent. And Alex? Alex lost it. His whole body tensed. His fists clenched. His face turned red, and for a split second, I thought he was going to hit me. He took a step forward, and that's when the cab pulled up. Its headlights flooded the driveway. Alex stopped. The driver rolled down the window. Miss? You called for a ride. I turned back to Alex. And I smiled. Yeah, I said. I did. Then, holding my kids tight, I stepped outside. And just before I got in, I turned to them one last time. Alex, Margaret, Jessica, Robert, all standing there. Trapped, broke, helpless. And I said the last words I would ever say to them. Enjoy your vacation. Then I closed the door. And we drove away. As the cab pulled away, I kept my eyes forward, refusing to look back at the people who had just tried to ruin my life. My heart was still racing. My hands were still shaking. But I wasn't done yet. They thought they had trapped me. They thought they could steal my kids. They thought I was just going to accept it. But now they were trapped. And they had no idea what was coming next. I got to the airport before sunrise. I checked in for my flight, kept my kids close, and made my way to the gate. My hands were still gripping my phone so tightly it hurt. Because something was off. It wasn't just what Alex had done. It wasn't just the money he tried to steal. It was the way Jessica reacted. She was scared. Not angry. Not furious that I had humiliated her. Not outraged that I had taken control. Scared. And it hit me. She wasn't scared of me. She was scared of something else. I refreshed my bank account again, just in case. Everything was still there. No transfers had gone through. Then I checked our home security app. And my blood ran cold. Someone was inside. The motion sensors had gone off. At first, I thought maybe it was just a neighbor checking on things. But then I clicked on the security camera feed. And I saw two men walking through my living room. Strangers. They were going through my things. One of them was on my computer. The other was checking my safe. My empty safe. Because I had already moved everything out. What the hell was happening? I tried to think. Tried to put it all together. Margaret and Jessica weren't just trying to trap me. Alex wasn't just trying to steal my money. This was planned. For months. They had waited for me to leave. Waited for me to be in another country. So that someone. I still didn't know who could break into my house and take whatever they could. Except they hadn't expected me to prepare. They thought I was an idiot. They thought I wouldn't check my accounts. They thought I would just let them do it. They were so damn wrong. I turned to my kids. They were still asleep in the airport lounge, curled up under my jacket. I took a deep breath. And I made one last call. Me, hey, I need you to check something for me. Friend, same bank friend from earlier. What's going on? Me, I think Alex is laundering money. Silence. Then, friend, say that again? I swallowed hard. I thought about the random charges I had seen in our bank statements over the last few months. The new accounts I didn't recognize. The way Alex was acting so nervous whenever I asked about money. This wasn't just about him stealing from me. It wasn't just about his family wanting my kids. Alex was into something. Something illegal. And I was about to expose all of it. The truth finally comes out. My friend got to work immediately. And within 20 minutes, she called me back. Friend, you're not crazy. Me, tell me. She took a deep breath. And then she said the words that changed everything. Friend, Alex has been moving money through fake accounts. Thousands. Maybe more. My hands went numb. Friend, and guess whose name is on some of them? I already knew. Mine. Alex hadn't just planned to trap me in Italy. He hadn't just planned to steal my kids. He was setting me up. He had been moving illegal money through our accounts, using my name, my credentials, everything. And then? He was going to leave me in Italy. If the police ever came asking, guess who would take the fall? Me. His dumb, naive wife. Except I wasn't so dumb, was I? I wasn't leaving this alone. I wasn't just going to get on my flight and pretend like this never happened. Because this wasn't just revenge anymore. This was war. I pulled up every record, every transaction, every suspicious charge I had saved. Then I sent it to everyone who mattered. My lawyer, my friend at the bank, and the police. And as I boarded my flight home, I knew Alex thought he had ruined me. But by the time I landed, his life would be over. I was on the plane, my kids curled up beside me, their tiny bodies warm against mine. The cabin lights were dim, most passengers dozing off. But I couldn't close my eyes. Not yet. I watched my phone, waiting for the moment everything I had set in motion would explode. Because when we landed, Alex's world would come crashing down. We touched down in New York, and as soon as I turned my phone off airplane mode, the notifications flooded in. Bank alerts. Missed calls from Alex. Texts from Margaret and Jessica. But the most important one? A message from my friend at the bank. Friend, it's done. The authorities have everything. I exhaled. My evidence. Every suspicious transaction, every shady account under my name, every transfer Alex had tried to hide was now in the hands of the law. Alex hadn't just committed financial fraud. He had dragged me into it, using my identity to cover his tracks. Now, he was about to find out what it felt like to be trapped. I didn't go home. I went straight to my lawyer's office. I walked in, my kids still sleepy, their hands in mine. My lawyer, Sarah, was already waiting. She had the divorce papers ready. And she had something else. A restraining order. I got a call this morning, Sarah said, flipping through some papers. Your husband? He tried to empty one last account before the banks locked him out. I laughed. Of course he did. Sarah smiled. He didn't get a cent. Good. I signed the divorce papers. Signed the restraining order. And then? I texted Alex. Meet me at the house. Now. I got there before him. The locks had already been changed. The house felt different, colder, emptier. It wasn't a home anymore. It was a crime scene waiting to happen. The front door swung open. And there he was. Alex stood in the doorway, looking wrecked. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair a mess, his eyes bloodshot. Babe, he said, stepping inside. Please, I held up the restraining order. You don't live here anymore. He froze. His eyes darted to the papers, and for the first time, I saw real fear in his expression. You can't be serious. I smiled. Dead serious. Then I tossed another document onto the kitchen table. He picked it up. His face went pale. It was the police report. Filed against him. For fraud, identity theft, and financial crimes. Alex's breathing turned ragged. You called the cops? I leaned against the counter. No, Alex. I gave them evidence. There's a difference. His hands shook. You're ruining me. I laughed. Oh no. You ruined yourself. That's when Margaret stormed in. She must have come straight from the airport because she looked exhausted. Her clothes were wrinkled, her hair frizzed from stress, but her eyes were sharp, furious. You manipulative little, I held up a hand. Careful, I said. You're trespassing. Her jaw locked. You destroyed my family. I raised an eyebrow. Your family tried to steal my kids. Your son tried to frame me for his crimes. And now I'm the bad guy? Margaret's lips trembled. She turned to Alex, gripping his arms. We'll fix this, she whispered. We'll call the lawyers. The bank will understand. We can get the money back. Alex just stood there, silent. Margaret shook him. Say something. We can't lose everything. And then, the moment I had been waiting for happened. Alex broke. Right in front of her. His whole body slumped. His breathing was shallow, his face defeated. I can't fix it, Mom, he muttered. Margaret stared. What do you mean? He finally looked at her. And then he said the words that made her world crumble. The money's gone. Silence. Margaret blinked. That's not possible. Alex swallowed hard. It's gone. I took out loans. I made bad investments. Margaret grabbed his shirt. How much? Alex's lip quivered. All of it. Margaret screamed. A raw, desperate sound. She grabbed her hair, shaking her head like she could undo what had just been said. No. And Jessica walked in just in time to see her mother collapse into a chair. She looked between me, Alex, and Margaret. And then? She burst into tears. I didn't care. I turned to my kids, who were watching from the hallway, their little faces full of confusion. It's over, I told them softly. Because it was. Alex was arrested 2 days later. The fraud charges were serious enough that his bail was denied. Margaret and Robert had to sell their house to cover their debts. Jessica? Disappeared. She had loaned Alex money, too, money she didn't have. She tried to skip the country, but debt collectors found her first. And me? I moved on. The divorce went through fast. I got sole custody of my kids. And the best part? I never had to see them again. One day, a few months later, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Alex. I let it go to voicemail. When I played it back, I heard his voice weak, hollow. I lost everything, he whispered. I deleted the message. And then? I took my kids outside, into the sunshine. Because for the first time in years, I was free.